This year, I have declared that I am going marketing free in my business. And in this video, I'm going to explain what I mean by that and what I'm going to be doing through this year to explore a marketing free business. So I'm doing this in the context of the fact that there is at an individual level and a collective level, there is an increasing shift in consciousness. And the ways in which we have approached business, they're just simply not appropriate anymore with where we're going. And we need to be creating different approaches to business and to marketing that actually are in line with that. Because to me, there's a conscious choice that we need to be making about how do we work our businesses in balance and in tune with nature, which is important because our businesses are dependent on, in every step, however indirectly, every step of the way upon the earth on which we live. So we need to be in balance with that. That's one conscious choice. And the other is about consciously, how do we connect and relate with each other? So marketing itself, the intention of marketing is simply to connect and to share. And it is to inform, to raise awareness. So there's nothing fundamentally wrong with the concept. It's how we've been applying it that is, it's worked in the past, but it's worked in the past to keep us in a certain pattern of behavior. And we need to be moving into a much more conscious pattern of behavior in the future. So we've got a huge amount of social programming around the way in which we use marketing. Is tapping into the social programming we've got, which is really about asking us to take what we are hearing and seeing on face value and to assume that it is correct. And there is a massive erosion in our society of independent thought and critical analysis. There's a lot of criticism, but not necessarily a lot of critical analysis. And the ability to self-reference and make sure that the decisions that are being taken, the choices that you are making, are in your best interest, that has been eroded hugely. And marketing has had a massive role to play in that. And it has pushed us further into that pattern of simply accepting things at face value. But underlying all of that is actually a culture of manipulation. And it can be done even under the auspices of good intentions, but it is manipulation. It is manipulating people to think certain things, which we are seeing a lot of in the political field. And it is, in business sense, it is manipulating people to take a decision that may not actually be in their best interests. But it's asking them to take a decision from a position of not necessarily having all the facts, but because there's some button that is being pressed. And persuasion culture has become central to our culture of business. And that's where I have a real problem. I'm not comfortable with it. Business has really been playing into this larger social agenda that we've got going on, which is, is reinforced by our political structures that we are not allowed to think independently. And that's the thing that I think is the most important, that needs to be changed, that needs to be addressed. I want to restore independent thinking and choice and decision making to our business models and to our marketing models. Now, that is an intention that I am sure that most of you are absolutely supportive of. And you're probably thinking, yeah, well, I'm doing that already. And to be honest, I thought that. I was thinking a great deal about, these are all the decisions that I've taken in the past, but I haven't necessarily fully critically assessed why I've taken those decisions. But also, I haven't necessarily looked closely enough at that. And so as I went more and more into this, it was about getting right back to looking at things with objectivity, a level of objectivity, to see how deeply ingrained some of these patterns of behavior are in our business world. And I call that, the business shadow. And the business shadow is prevalent in so much of our decision making in the business field. So even if we are conscious and intentional about how we are running our business, there are still things that are happening approaches that we are using that are actually undermining that intention of that honesty and transparency and openness in the relationship that you are building through the marketing. So those are the things that is really important to me to challenge and to address in my own business, but to do so publicly, to do so honestly, because I know for me that even though I have taken certain decisions that I consider to be much more conscious and intentional, there are still been things that have been running in the background that I was not necessarily consciously bringing into my awareness that were actually undermining that intention. And it is so pervasive, that conditioning, that we will have things that we are doing that we won't even see half the time that we're doing them. And that's really what I want to do through this year. So when I'm talking about going marketing free, what I'm talking about is removing manipulation, pressure, and persuasion from everything that I'm doing. I am not talking about not marketing my business, because that would be insane. I am certainly not talking about not selling. That would be suicide, business suicide. So I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about really calling out some of the practices that I see elsewhere, but I also see in my own business. And I'm going to be really brutally honest about that. I have used things, I've tested them out, and marketing is about experimentation, business is about experimentation, and that's all to the good. But it's about actually saying, this is what's happening when I'm using that, this is why I'm choosing not to do that, but very importantly, this is what I'm choosing to do instead. And so I want to actually really pull back the curtains on that process and share that process throughout this year. And I've already started to do that with my list and within my community, to sort of talk about some of the things where I have a line in the sand, and to really be honest with myself about why I have that line in the sand. Not just, oh, it doesn't feel good, but this is what is actually happening underneath the surface. And that's why I can't bring myself to go down that route. And this is what I'm going to do instead. So that's what I'm going to be doing over this year. I'm going to be looking at the changes that I want to see, because I can take a principled stand. And to be fair, I've been doing that for the last 18 months, but I've been doing it relatively quietly. And if you want to take a principled stand over and over and over and over again, the way to do it is to do it quietly. So I want to do it more loudly, because I want to move the agenda on. I want to take this forward. I want to find a way for myself and to lead that way for other people, to sort of to start doing things in a different way. But I really, really for me, the thing is about saying, this is what's actually going on underneath the surface. And this is why it's important to shift it, because the way that we do business at the moment, the way that we market our businesses at the moment, it has been uncomfortable for conscious entrepreneurs for a long time. But it's getting more so, and it's getting really difficult. And what we all need now is a different way of doing it, a different way of perceiving and conceiving of our business in action that is actually going to feel good, get the results, because we need our businesses to be vital and alive and growing and thriving. It needs to get the results, but at the same time, it needs to be in integrity with the consciousness that is emerging, the consciousness that we feel emerging within ourselves, but also within our collective. So when we're being honest and on the level with our clients, with our communities, with our stakeholders, with our audiences, and to actually say, this is where I'm coming from and this is what I'm doing. And yes, there is the risk that then it may be more difficult to do it this way. And of course, well, I think it is going to be more difficult in some respects, because we have a lot of conditioning and programming to change. So that's my year. So if you want to follow my year and you want to see what I'm talking about, I've already started to have those conversations with my community, as I said, then you're welcome to follow me. You can join on my list if you want to. You can follow me on my Facebook page. I'm going to be talking about this. I'm going to be talking about it on my blog. I'm going to be talking about it on Medium or whatever. I will be having this conversation, and I'll be delighted for you to join in and share your perspectives on it. and we will see where it goes. And I am, I'm really completely open to looking at what's going to happen with it and how it's going to turn out. So there we go.